Well, I guess go ahead.
A non-aurora image.
Oh no,
Awesome.
oh no, that's an aurora. It's just an ICM version of it. No,
I
it's not.
see.
That's a recent image from the Smokies. Yeah, you've been complaining so much about my Rhythm of the Aurora project that I decided I better come up with some new images.
So that's one of those ones that failed and that you absolutely see is a worthless image. Is that one of those?
We talked last time at the end just briefly about expectations, and I thought it would be worth spending a little bit more time on expectations because man, if there's one thing that can be a killer to creativity and expressive photographs, I would say expectations. And my an example I use when I do a lecture oft times is, you go to where I just was in the Smokies and you go to Sparks Lane in the incredible Cades Cove, and you've seen mine or Tony Sweet's image or whatever, where you see those two beautiful trees and you got the lane going through it, and you got a dogwood tree tucked in, and you got beautiful dogwood buds. And the image you've seen from me and Tony is you got fog rolling through that. And so what do you do if there's not fog? Do you go home?
AI.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, to generate the fog with AI. No, we don't advocate that. But that's so often what people do, especially when they go on a workshop. They've probably seen your images of the Faroe Islands, and they've seen my images of Smokies or whatever. And they show up, and if those conditions aren't what they saw in that photograph that really moved them, what do you do? And
Well, first of all, when you go to a new location, I advocate you don't research it.
yeah,
You go with a blank slate. You don't have images in your head of what others have done because either you're going to be trying to recreate those, like I did with Ansel Adams images in Yosemite,
yeah,
or you're trying to do them better and you're going to be disappointed because they had the fog condition. And
you
I
don't.
it's a terrible thing to do to creativity, to be looking at other people's work to an area that you're going to go to, or look at a guidebook to find the must-see sites. It's, to me, it is so anti being creative.
Uh,
I went to Ukraine. I went with a blank canvas. Nothing. I knew nothing at all about anything about Ukraine as far as photographing it. And I hoped I would find something. Well, I'm into it 3 days, haven't seen anything. And this puts this pressure on you. And you go, well, I've only got 10 days there. That means I've got 7 days left. Then you go, oh, I've got 6 days left. And that pressure builds. And that is not conducive to being creative.
not at all.
And it's also a side note, a good reason not to go to some place for a week. If you're going to someplace wonderful, I like to go for a month, period.
Yeah.
To me, to be able to start to feel it, to relax, to not worry about time, such a blessing.
Yes.
I'm going to go to I'm going down to South America and I'm going to do a 2-day trip to Easter Island. There's no way.
Yeah.
It's just fair.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, back on topic here, and I think you've illustrated it very well with the Ukraine. And by the way, the end of that story is you did come up with a creative project called Eyes Shut, right? Is that what it was called?
Ukrainians with eyes shut.
Ukrainians Eyes Shut, and that finally morphed out of it. But the cautionary tale is that one that you just described, or it is the one of somebody going because they've looked at those images, and you show up at the Grand Canyon, whatever wonderful place. Our suggestion would be to just show up open to being taken by whatever presents itself. And so that way, if there's no fog at Cades Cove at Sparks Lane, that there's still another right answer there. And you're in a headspace, as we talked about a little bit in the last show, where you're open to seeing that. Because I think what expectations do is they shut down all the other possibilities, right? When we get into that headspace of, I'm going to go to Oregon and I'm going to go and I'm going to go to that one Thor's Well or whatever it's called, and I'm going to get this shot and then it doesn't happen. It can honestly ruin the rest of your trip because you didn't get that one shot at that particular location. So my strong suggestion, and it's what I've done in my life, and I know you practice it too. It's hard, there's times where I want to look and see what might be available. And certainly as a workshop leader, that's part of what I do have to do. I mean, I at least have to pick places that are photogenic. Um, uh, but in general, show up open to being taken. It's interesting because I was pausing there because I'm thinking of another maybe show idea. This idea that you and I are bantering about a little bit of doing a workshop in a location that is not a banger location. It's not Yosemite. It's not Yellowknife, Canada, where you're guaranteed auroras. It's not Faroe Islands even. It's going to be some place you had talked about in California where there's beach and shoreline there, but it's going to be a little harder to find images just to drill home the idea that if you stay long enough in that place, you'll find images to photograph.
Well, it was that vision workshop that I had suggested where we would go to La Jolla Cove. I picked that because it's just got a variety of things in a small area. And to really focus on vision, to not see it through the eyes of another photographer, through the eyes of a calendar shot you saw and loved, but to see it through your eyes and to find your vision for it. And I do think that there's some value in not recreating others people's work, finding your own, creating your own iconic image that others might look at one day and say, wow, I wished.
Yeah.
And now you've got people coming to say, I want to shoot that like John Barclay shot it, but to find your own image. And I think there's great value in going to it. I'd love to do that vision workshop.
It's interesting. So now we've thrown it out, right? The idea is out there. Curious comments below. Would a vision workshop where basically we're going to spend a week in a location. We're not going to be traveling out to here, there, and everywhere, trying to get to 8 different locations that week. Rather, we're going to be in La Jolla Cove, and every day, 2 times a day, we're going to go photograph there, and then we're going to have dialogue midday in a conference room about what's happening, how's it going, right? And we'll have Cole will do his presentation of how he found his vision. I'll do a presentation to get us started, but the idea would be to help you find your vision during that workshop and be more focused on that. So comments below. I think that ties right in with expectations, because to me, that's a completely opposite approach, teaching people to go into a place with their vision intact, looking to make images that are uniquely theirs, that have no influence from any expectations whatsoever. That's liberating to me. It's very,
Yeah, they're not tied to the iconic locations. That's
yeah.
be able to photograph wherever you're at.
Good. Well, we'll see. It may be 1 or 2, or we might get 20, I mean, and if we get a response, Cole and I will put that together right away. We'll add that in as soon as we can. All right, bud. Good discussion. Appreciate it. See you soon.